Thank you, TCTV. It doesn't. Good evening. Time is now 6:30 p.m. I'm Chairman Tim Toth. I'd like to call the Select Board Business Meeting to order on this 14th day of September 2022. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we begin tonight's proceedings, I'd like to state for the record, not only are we being live streamed on TCTV, Cable Station 8, and our YouTube web platform, but this evening's recording will be available for later viewing on our YouTube channel. We have the following board members, staff, and expected guests. And we do indeed have a quorum. The entire board is present. Mr. Bennett, Ms. Griffiths, Ms. Richard,
What's his name?
Mr. Curry, and myself. I see we have a lot of folks in the audience tonight. Welcome. I'm going to go around the room. I don't know all. I know most of the faces, so we'll start to my left. Let's just go around the room real quick. Introduce yourselves. Just speak loudly. The mics should be able to pick it up. Oh, welcome. Welcome.
Candace Graves. That was going backwards.
We'll do the front to the back. Sorry. Thank you, Candace.
Steve Banville, Laurel View, Richard Fotis, the village.
Sue Larrabee, Lions, Templeton Lions.
Go over this side, and we'll ziggy-zag it back.
Lori Wida here for AdCom, CBA, and whatever else comes up.
Okay.
Lori Matson, Laurel View.
I'm Heard here with the for the Narragansett Historical Society. Ryan Tangway, the Historical Society.
Welcome.
George Andrews for the Knights of Columbus and Conservation Commission.
Karen Reimer Bloker for Laurel View, and my husband William will be here soon.
Thank you.
Candace Graves for the Rec Department, the Rec Commission.
Thank you.
Darlene Witt, Laurel View.
Thank you.
Allison Hurd, Laurel View.
Colleen Singh, Laurel View.
Bob Sozik, DBW.
Cheryl Richardson, Treasurer Collector. Luann Royer, Assessor's Office.
Justice Graves, Administrative Assistant for the Town Administrator.
Admiral Hunting, Town Administrator.
And of course, our TCTV representatives. Thank you, folks. As always, the agenda for this evening has been set no later than 48 hours out by law and is publicly available at the official source for town information, templetonma.gov. Although I have discretion as the chairperson to add or remove from the agenda, it has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, and public awareness. I reserve the right to move agenda items around to best fit our business and our guests. Thank you. If it's your first time attending a select board meeting or any meeting of the public within the community, welcome. We're glad that you joined us. Please be aware that we do our best to address all agenda items adequately, all public concerns with due concern, and all comments with dignity and patience. We request you do your best to show the same respect. And I don't believe we have anybody joining us via Zoom this evening.
Mr. Chair, our account should be jumping on for the quarterly.
Okay. So in that said, a few Zoom rules of the road for those coming on, and our accountant is aware, use the video whenever possible. Although if you're waiting for the agenda item, it sometimes is better to have the videos off. Using the mute feature when not speaking, although TCTV can place any or all on mute, it's easier to control your own button. If you wish to speak, raise your hand, use the raise hand feature, or politely break in if you're using the telephone call in. If you wish to see material shared on the screen, please request that of the chair, email, or refer to which documents. This will help everyone stay synchronized, also be helpful to the viewing public. Only the chair and TCTV have access to share content or screens. That said, we will step in to our meeting proceedings. So we are at item number 3, approval of the minutes of the prior meetings. And these are in your agenda packet, team.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Weiss.
I move to approve the minutes of August tenth, 2022 as presented.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Second call, any discussion? Hearing no call for discussion or corrections, I will bring this to the vote. Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Ms. Richard.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you, team. We have no executive session minutes tonight. And we will be stepping into citizen input.
I had received a letter if someone was interested in having a candidates day. And it just is ongoing organization. We're getting a good response. It'll be October 15th from 9 to 11. So far, it's called Coffee with the Candidates, and it's going to be at the Senior Center at 16 Baldwin Drive, unless it's going to be big because its seating capacity over there is 88. So Congressman McGovern can't make it, but so far we've got over 7 responses of candidates that Senator Goby, the 2,
Excellent.
yeah. So please come out.
Thank you. Sure. My wife is going to make public comments and remove any questions of impropriety or potential discussion. I'm going to pass the chair. I'm actually going to recuse myself and leave. Somebody just get me when we pass this part. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Liz.
Thank you. So I'm just going to read this to keep me on target.
Okay,
Okay.
it's your notes. It's nothing you sent this already.
The second page is, which you already have a copy of there.
Oh, yep,
Okay.
I do. Thank you.
Okay. So while watching the previous select board meeting, I was very concerned about the possibility of the town deciding to move the veteran services responsibilities outside of our community and what that would mean to my veteran family members. I know it would not meet their needs. I am a wife of a disabled combat vet. I've watched him through the years with challenges to get proper services put in place and have those services followed and moved from one veteran agent to another, and to have to rebuild the relationships with each new person as it moves. Then the fear that set in when his personally identifiable information was lost in one of those moves. It's out there someplace. Who knows where it is? Who knows who has access to it? I've also seen how other family members who are vets have different needs for different services. Both are mostly homebound. I don't see how a resource base in another community would be able to address anything more than a clerical requirement. They wouldn't be coming to my family members' homes. In any case, if there's anyone that has any doubt, the importance to stress that the VSO Director of Veteran Services position is not a low-level clerical position. It's so much more than filling out forms, establishing benefits. It includes duties as diverse as counseling of veterans and their dependents, referrals to appropriate agencies or services, community outreach, organizations, and coordinating with memorial activities, Veterans Memorials Day, and I can just go on. Basically, it's so much more than just clerical work. And that's what was coming across in the last meeting. They haven't experiential knowledge that's needed. There's a need for the person to assist the vet that has walked a similar path. There's a need to be available to the veteran where they're the most comfortable. Some vets come home whole and unscathed, others do not. The VSO listens, guides, and supports in ways that only another vet can do. So I was fortunate enough a few years ago to be able to attend a Massachusetts Municipal Association MMA conference. One of the takeaways from that conference was they encouraged cribbing from other organizations. And so what you have in front of the board there is 2 examples from other towns of basically job descriptions as to what a director of veteran services is all about. So what the other sheet of paper is and I'm trying to keep this short because you have a long agenda. So there are three options with addressing veteran services needs. One is the regional agreement, which was already previously discussed, continue with a part-time position, or possibly can look at doing a full-time salaried, non-hourly position. So what I'm asking the select board to do is to gather information needed to consider making the Director of Veteran Services a full-time position. If the board is open to considering it to be a full-time position, I believe there's some things the board needs to find out. And what I'm asking the board is to try to find out those things to be able to make an informed decision as to how the board wishes to proceed. So can the money be found in the current fiscal year? And if so, recommendations needed for moving the funding. And if it needs to go in front of the advisory board, then to do so. And then also look at the draft full-time job description, which is already provided. So that's really my ask, is for the board to consider it.
Okay. As a vet, I love living in Massachusetts. It boasts the best veteran services across the entire country. And that should flow right down to all 354 communities. So I'm in agreement with you. You've got some great nuggets here for us to chew on. The biggest place where we chew on these is during the budget season to actually flesh out those questions. So thank you for coming in and making that presentation tonight. Any other quick thoughts?
Just one quick thought. At the last meeting, I think there was a misunderstanding or misinterpretation of the presentation. I heard the words regionalization get tossed out there, and that was not in the idea or I call it a fix, a temporary fix, and that's what it said. It said a temporary move to provide services for veterans in the absence of having someone currently here. It was put out to, you could call the state. Well, I did that. I went to the state website. I filled out an email thing. I sent it in 3 weeks ago. I haven't heard squat back from them. I've called twice. We'll leave your number, blah, blah. They start off with, go to our webpage, find your town and your VSO. Well, I left the message. My town doesn't have one, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was interested in benefits, this, that, and the other thing. I've called twice. I have not heard nothing. So to me, that's not an option. Regionalization, we have done that. I believe it can work if you have the right person as the director. When I was the town's rep for our regional services, and it didn't work because, in my opinion, this is me, as a veteran and as a member of that board that oversaw that group, we didn't have the right individual there, and veterans in all the communities that were in that Quabbin Regional were not getting served, period. I spoke in favor of looking at it becoming a full-time position in Templeton. I put forth 38 hours. I'm one person, that's my thought, that's my thing that I would push for. Some people think there's not enough vets, there's not enough thing to justify that. I disagree with y'all. So again, I think the takeaway was we were going to regionalize and move it permanently outside of town, and that's not what was presented, and that's not what we were talking about doing. And I do want town to maintain a veterans agent from my experience with a regional service. And I do thank you for coming in. That's,
If I may.
Well, it's not really designed for a back and forth. I was going to finish on a good note. Number one, you came in for two things: to explain why it needs to stay in the community. And then the second part was giving us, I think, good roadmap. I didn't want it to turn into a discussion, but if
My only 2 cents is, do we put it on the retreat or a future agenda?
excuse me,
Could it be retreated?
we'll figure that out.
Mr.
I think
Vice Chairman.
the biggest part is budget season, like I talked about. That's where we have those discussions. So like I said, I characterized it as nuggets to be able to carry through to say, these are the things that the community is looking for. So I really thank you for your presentation. I think you did a great job highlighting the issues and gave a lot of the background information. I'll give you a minute.
Okay, just really quick.
Okay.
All right, was the concern I had was, Jeff has said that, it wasn't brought forward as a regionalization. Yet the way things were put out
Right, it was a discussion. It was not anything.
it's just the whole way it went down was concerning, and I'll leave it at that.
So I'll end on a good note. The hiring process, as you listened to the meeting, it was basically, we have to, if we want to keep it here, we have to have the interest in it. We have, I believe, 7 candidates for the hiring process. So I have a really good feeling that the first part of what you came here is going to come to fruition.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you very much for taking the time.
Public comment?
Hi,
Hi, Candy, come on up. Oh, actually, could you grab? Oh, no, Justice. Oh, he is. I'm sorry, I didn't, out here. It's that veteran stuff.
Should I wait for
Like
Tim?
disabled, like I can't hear out of that ear. I had to clarify real quick. Hi, Candy, I'm sorry.
Hi.
We're just waiting for Tim to come.
Oh,
back
yeah.
So I can turn over my role back to him. Unless he went to Burger King. He wasn't feeling well. Oh, okay.
Here he comes.
You thought you went to Burger King.
Negative.
Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Thank you for that, Mr. White.
I was wanting to say.
Is there any other?
Yes, Candy is at the hot seat.
Yeah. Hi, Candace Graves. I'm here to speak, I guess, as myself or maybe as the rec commission. Saturday, the 17th, in the park. Starting at 6:30, we're gonna have a movie, the fall movie. The Lions Club with the rec department is going to put on a movie. We're doing Hocus Pocus. And we're gonna have the concession stand open. And it's cash only for the concession stand. Bring your blankets, your chairs. It's gonna be a fun night. We have a lady, a vendor that's gonna do offer tattoos. She's gonna have like a spooky little house type of thing. Pretty little princesses. So it's gonna be a fun night. It starts at 6:30. The movie will start when it gets dark out. Movie's Hocus Pocus. And the rec department is really excited to do this with the Lions Club this year.
Fantastic. I'm sorry. Could you give the time and place again?
Yeah, it's Gilman Waite in Baldwinville, and it'll start at we'll start doing stuff at 6:30 with the concession stand open, so you can get your spot early. And then when it gets dark out, the movie will play Hocus Pocus.
Bring your bug spray just in case.
Yeah, well, it's been kind of cool, so hopefully the bugs will stay away. But should be a fun evening.
It was the last time.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, thank you.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
This is great as we're coming out of our unprecedented sequence of events over the last 2 years, so we can start doing these public things again.
We gotta have fun.
Absolutely.
Have fun. Oh, it's free too.
Best part.
That's the absolute best part.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Any other new citizen input?
Mr. Chair, if I may make a quick note, tomorrow, we're gonna start work on South Road, beyond Farnsworth and French. They're gonna start reclaiming. They'll be out there probably for 3 days. And then following week, the milling will start in between Victoria and the intersection. And the reclaimer will be moving down towards the other side of town in the 225 block. Yeah, everybody be able to get through. You might have to, a little patient, it'll be slow going, but traffic will be directed through.
Very good. That's a long awaited event. Thank you for that, Mr. Zosik. Any other citizen input? Okay, seeing none, we will move into item 5, new business. Mr. Lamontagne, we have no introductions of new employees this evening.
We do not, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Item 5B, appointments. Agricultural Commission, Mr. LeClerc, Mr. Rotti. Cultural Council, Sally Waite. Recreation Commission, Andrea Figueroa Torres, and I apologize if I said that one wrong. Zoning Board of Appeals, Edwin Figueroa Torres. And I believe we have all the community interest forms in our packet.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rice.
I move to appoint the following to Agricultural Commission, Matthew LeClerc, a 3-year term to expire on 6/30/2025. Additionally, Timothy Rotti, an unexpired term expiring on 6/30/2023. For Cultural Council, Sally Waite, for a term of 3 years, expiring on June 30th, 2025. For Recreation Commission, and Andrea Figueroa Torres, for the unexpired term expiring June 30th, 2023. And finally, Zoning Board of Appeals, Edwin Figueroa Torres, for the unexpired term, expiring June 30th, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I second that.
Thank you. I have a duly made motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is anybody, I see Matt,
Yep.
and are the other, any other the folks present?
Thank you to their volunteerism.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Stepping up.
Really
Absolutely.
looks nice to start
Very
filling
nice.
some seats.
It does. And just for the comments for everybody, the Cultural Council is one of our unique commissions and boards in the town. They have a prescribed 7-year window where they have to step off for a year and then they can come back in. So there is a rolling vacancy that occurs, and I know they're always looking for help. Much the same as many of our other boards, councils, and commissions, and it's wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful to see people stepping up. So I will echo Ms. Richards' comment on that. Thank you for that. Any further discussion, team? Matt, anything you would like to say?
Yeah, I apologize for, there was an oversight on my end to not answer, which is the reason why I was off. It came through my emails, I didn't look at it, and because I didn't answer the question, I was taken off the board. So that was a clear oversight on my end, but I just want to make sure that I'll do better next time and read my emails more often. My apologies.
Not once a year.
Yeah, that's well what it was once.
Sometimes life gets in the way,
Yes.
mistakes get made, this is how we correct them and we move forward.
I didn't take the position lightly, I just didn't read them.
No, I get it. Okay, no further questions or discussions. We'll bring this to a vote. Mr. Bennett,
No.
Ms. Gribbus,
Yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Let the record show 4 yay, 1 nay.
Mr. Chair, just a quick point of order.
ahead.
Just a cross question. Jeff, does it help if you want them broken out in the future? Would that help you?
Yes, it would, but
Okay, all right.
Mm.
We have done that before, Mr. Chair, so I just went ahead with that, but I think in
That's
the
fine.
future, just to be a little bit more careful and give the board a little bit more ability to target vote or whatever. So that's an oversight on my part. I'm glad we were able to fill those positions, but I apologize for that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, do we have? For item C, presentation quarterly report of the FY22 Q4 for finance.
I don't see her
I
on
don't
yet.
see her on this yet.
In the meantime, I think the rest of the finance team can come on.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, sorry.
I think they could start their reports and hopefully the account will jump on.
Hers is the first in the
We see
packet.
the
That's why we
accountants
were.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome.
Thanks. It's been a while, so I'm glad you didn't delay us because these are April, May and June's
Yeah.
financial reports. So I feel like it's been like 6 months. So
We'll be back next month.
yeah, we'll be back again next month for our first quarter. In my office, annual election brought a new member to our board, Justice Graves. We retired Brad Latonin. Just want to thank Brad for his 9 years of service and welcome Justice aboard. In May, we did. We had additional supplemental bills of over $7,800. That'll bring in new revenue to the town for the end of fiscal 22. We finished processing statutory exemptions. And at the end of the year, we processed over $109,000 out of the overlay account for exemptions. So that's veterans, widows, over 70 blind exemptions. So that was a little bit more than we've had in the past, maybe like $1,000 or $2,000. Motor vehicle bills continue to keep coming in. 216,000 went out on our fourth commitment. So they've been coming up, and so far we've abated over $18,000 worth of it. Community preservation funds were submitted to the state, and we are netting $227,000+ for community preservation funds that came in this year, which is almost 18,000 more than last year. So that's good too. Billing went out on time. It was transferred into the billing system the end of June. Bills went out July 1st for the first quarter for fiscal 23. That was good. Building permits, just in this past quarter alone, there was over 81 permits that went out, which meant there was, to date, at the end of June, we had over 129 building permits. And I'll tell you now, that figure has skyrocketed just in the last probably 3 or 4 months too. We're way up over 200 for this year. With that being said, I've gone out and measured over 7 new constructions. There's been a lot of plans for subdivisions still in town going on. So right now they'll sit in my office till January, but paperwork is coming in. I probably got about 15 or 20 plans to split off in town again already. So very active, very busy, and Lori's inspectional service department in our office. Sue, my assistant's been going out and doing cyclical inspections. She is doing Templeton Center. It will take this year and probably into next year, which it should be done next year. And we're not due for our reval and cyclical inspection until 2025. So we're going to be ahead of the game in the office for that. Always a plus. That's good. You're always good to be on the good side of the state. I just did a semi-conference with them to find out where we stood for our reval year coming up, and we're right on the mark as far as everything that we should be doing to work towards that. So that's always good. Also, I did an informational meeting at the senior center in April for our senior work off. This year it went great. I had over 22 applications. It was voted at town meeting. I can place 20 seniors in the program. So I have 2 like are on standby in case something happens and they can't do it. So it's worked good. I've had people working in the fire department, the highway barn, in our office, town hall. We've got a couple working here. The senior center's got about 6 or 7 working over there. So it's a really good program. They work 38 hours and get $500 off their taxes, minus, tax that they have to take off of it. So it's a good program, and hopefully next year it'll continue to be as good.
You have a lot of return participants.
No, actually, the 3, because for the last few years, I've only had 2 or 3 people working in it, and those 3 people didn't even apply this year. I don't know why, but we got a lot of new people. I don't know if it was just getting more information out to people or what, but I mean, it's been a program we've had for probably 6 or 7 years, so it's very nice that we can utilize the seniors and get some work done too for it. So other than that, that's my office. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Only 2 work-offs, senior work-offs.
I have none. Just
You
a
have none?
comment, as always, a lot of work coming out of your office. We thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'm up. All right, it's typical. Bills go out for excise, sewer, and real estate. Demands go out, warrants go out. That's typical of a quarter. We mailed out demands on past due FY22 property tax in June. We had over 550 past due accounts at that time. Our actually tax title ad will go into paper tomorrow. We had, what did I tell you, 68. So those will be in out of the 550. So preliminaries were mailed, like Luann said, at the end of June for the first and second quarter. The company we use to print our bills is done. So I've been looking around and we got a couple people, the people that actually did it, the whole group, they work for the Boston Globe, the whole group is starting their own company and doing their billing. So it's going to be we're going to go with them. They gave us the same quote. I had one other quote, one person didn't reply and they gave me the same price that we had prior. They know our bills. It's all the same people doing it. So a lot of towns are scrambling to try to find somebody. So we got in quick with them and they'll be able to do our bills going forward. So we're all set for the December
Cost
bills.
savings.
What's that?
Did you see any cost savings? for
No,
that?
not, it was exactly the same what we had, which we had a good price.
Okay. awesome.
Yeah. So, so
The power of maintaining good working relationships.
hopefully, hopefully. So hopefully they'll do well. The bill shouldn't change at all. It's the same people. So, 86 MLCs were prepared. I did a bunch of Vadar informational Zooms and I attended the Cape Conference and I completed the Assessors 101 course. Took me a while doing it over a long span of time, but I did get through that. So
Congratulations.
I got my little certificate. So
Welcome to my world.
yeah, exactly. I don't want to be in your world, let me tell you. And just all the collections that we had for the quarter are listed below. We had over 275,000 in tax title we collected over the year. So we're doing pretty good in that aspect of getting some of these people off the list and hopefully we'll continue with that. I only have a few left from 20 and about a dozen left from 21. So I think I have 8 left from 20 and I started with 70. So we're getting them off the list. We're getting there
It's good.
little by little. It's helping having Danielle in there full time and
Yeah.
being able to get to some of those projects. So it's been working good. That's it, unless everybody has any questions. Oh, no.
Well, Cheryl won't toot her horn. I will. She got certified for her treasure collectors.
Oh, very nice.
That would be well. Thank you.
That's a big thing. Yeah, we have to go schooling for it. So she's got her collector side and she's working on her treasurer side. So,
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
1 year in on treasure.
That's great.
So
Nice job, Cheryl.
thank you.
Perfect. And I see on the monitor, we
Oh.
have our accountant has also joined us via Zoom. Hello, Kelly.
Hi, my apologies for being late. I thought thought 7 would be a closer time, but you all moved along fast tonight. So the year, we closed really well this year. The fourth quarter in my office is pretty quiet. It's just, we're getting ready for the end of the year. I did meet when I was there with our DOR representative. We have a new one that has been assigned to us because Deb Wagner's now been promoted. Met with Jared Curtis. He is a wonderful guy and worked with him through both with the free cash calculations and the certification this year, and it went very smoothly. It was really great to have that one-on-one, interaction with him. He wanted to get to know us as the community, so he came out and met with Cheryl, Luann, and myself. So, and as Cheryl passed the test, again, I failed the test. I don't test well. I don't know what else to do, but I'll just keep plugging along and trying. So I'll just try again next year. And then in June, it's working with the departments and getting them, their encumbrances and kind of staying on top of them, remembering that they need to keep track of that. But, we're very, very blessed that we have a good, stable department head group that we've had for a number of years now, so that, they know what's expected and they're able to do that. So in the expenditures, there were no significant expenditure issues to close out the year. We did carry forward 675,000 in special articles, and we had 22,008 in encumbered funds. The special articles are, moving along. There are some of them that we've, gotten rid of this year that have been on the books for a while, but I'm hoping in this next year, production of things will speed up a little bit of, people that we've ordered things for. We can get bidding processes out to get some projects completed. So we'll see how this year goes with that. The revenue for the fiscal year, we were at 107% of what our budget was with the DOR approved. So we did great this year. I just, again, wanted to say to Cheryl, I mean, she collected, 273,000 in tax title. I mean, that is amazing that, she's been able to do that. And, it's been years since we've had those kind of numbers in tax title, if ever. So very much kudos to her on that. The one thing that is a remaining again from the third quarter is the interest rates at Bartholomew with the investments. We took another big hit in the fourth quarter, wasn't as big as the third quarter. So I think we just kind of need to write it out just a little bit more, see, because it did rebound some in the fourth quarter. Need to look at it this quarter, and then, Cheryl, we may have to sit down and discuss, doing something different with the money. So that's something, but we are looking at that and keeping an eye out for that.
It feels like it's tracking to the market.
It is, it
Yeah,
does.
I mean,
Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
there's no
yeah.
place to put it
Big
right
rocks,
now.
right.
It's just,
right.
it's not
Yeah.
gonna do any different anywhere else.
right.
Right. So, but other than that, I mean, everything went great. The year is closed, the free cash is certified, and we're ready for the fall town meeting.
Awesome.
I saw that Adam's already starting to claw it apart and giving the capital what their numbers are going to be. So thank you for doing that. Really
Yeah.
appreciate the diligence on that. Mr. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Any additional questions or anything?
Thought Jeff was gonna, Jeff and I can talk about the 675.
My question answered already.
And we touched on it briefly, that third and fourth quarter hit on the investments, that is the market. And even though it sounds doom and gloom, anybody who works with the market and has investments understands the short term, yeah, it looks horrible, but in the long term, when we average it out, it's not all that bad. It is a recoverable process. So don't panic yet.
Unfortunately, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Okay, thank you,
All right,
team.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations again, Cheryl. Thanks for
Thank
all
you.
your diligence and hard work.
Thank you.
Take care. See you at the end of October.
Hi, Kelly.
Bye, Kelly.
Enjoy the weather down there.
Yeah, it's nice now. Bye.
Up next, action item D, town property use application, Motorpalooza by the Narragansett Historical Society.
Good evening. Oops. Oh, geez.
Careful.
Yeah, we'd like to have our annual car show on the Common this year. And I don't know if anybody, I believe some of you have been to it in the past. It's a very good fundraising event for us. For those that aren't familiar with the Historical Society, we're a nonprofit. Our sole purpose in life is to preserve, restore, and display town artifacts for visitors to come in that are interested in the town history. We've done very well over the past with finances and things, so we want to continue with that. And fundraising is pretty much our sole means of support, with some membership fees also. So we'd like to have this fundraising event. I know, like I said, some of you have been to it. If you haven't, I encourage you to stop by, even on a Saturday afternoon, stop by, tour the building if you haven't been through the building. It's an incredible display of artifacts. Excuse me. So
It's not just cars with motors, it's tractors, farm
Oh,
equipment,
yeah, we even had,
antiques.
one year we had a motor-driven washing machine,
Yeah,
an engine-driven washing machine from the thirties.
yeah.
So that was incredible.
You know what?
Yeah.
If we ever have a fix-it clinic in town, maybe we should hit up the Historical Society. I bet there's some people that could head up some groups of for folks that have old things to be fixed. I know TCTV has some electronic equipment, cassette players and things that they're looking to.
Yeah, electronics, my trade was electronics, so I might be able to do something with that. And we just, that's what we deal in, is old stuff. And that, what I always say is, come to the museum, see what new old stuff we have. So.
Chair. Mr. Weiss. I just, we've had this a bunch before. Has public safety seen it?
I submitted the application and the site map to the police chief, the fire chief, the DPW director, CERT. Board of Health, I believe, it was submitted to, or the application for the food permit was. Everybody is pretty much on board with that, and the two chiefs, I went back and forth with the fire chief a little bit. He had some additional questions. I answered those, and he got back to Holly stating that they were both all set with it. CERT's going to have 4 members of their team. The DPW is going to be bringing us either 4 tables and 5 rubbish barrels, or 5 tables and 4 rubbish barrels. I don't really know which is which, so.
So it's coordinated.
It's, yeah.
Well into your coordination. In your application, it does say will you have food vendors at your event? Your application does say no. But you've got health here to say.
That was an original check on that, because originally our food was going to be taken care of by Pros on the Common, but they had say staffing issues or something where she can't take the time for that. And that was just very recent. That was this week.
Yeah, she's turning on her bakery part business, I think.
Yeah.
People with 20 years experience each in the food industry.
Okay.
That will be handling.
Yep, this section of the, I'm sorry. You're good. So this section is just making sure that if you do have it, that the help, that last question, permit obtained from health inspector, we're on track for that.
You're on track.
Yeah, Lori and I have been emailing back and forth, and Lori and Brian have been emailing back and forth. So
that's all.
That's moving forward.
And we have the check off no for any alcohol servicing, tasting, because that would follow under the ABCC.
Yeah, we don't go down that road.
There's a still in the woods.
Mr. Chairman,
Don't say where.
quick question on that.
Absolutely.
Tom, actually, could you announce the date and the time of this event so that the public that's watching tonight will be well aware of when? you're
Yeah, the
having-
date's going to be Sunday, September 25th, and the time is, I believe, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it'll be on the Templeton Common.
Thank you.
Admission's free. We always ask for donations if somebody wants to donate, but the admission's free. And we'll be having food and soda or water at the event also. And there'll be music. Boot Hill Express will be playing on the bandstand.
Right.
Do you have a whole list
Nice.
of people that are showing, or is it still open?
That I believe is still kind of open. We just, we go to the different car shows, hand out little flyers. So it's kind of on the fly. People see the flyer and say, oh, I want to go to that, and then just show up. So hopefully we'll have a good amount, but not so many that we can't park them. So, we always want a good showing, but sometimes if you have too many.
Very good. And for those who haven't been to the Historical Society recently, I will give them a plug. Go and take a look, because they're moving some things around and changing the displays. It might not be what you saw the last time you were there. That's a good thing. So that begs my next question. Where do you store it all?
And if you've been to the Historical Society, you
Yep.
kind of see how much cramped we're for room. And that's one of the reasons we want to get the Grange Hall finished, because we want to set up display cases over there and kind of open up our main building a little bit more for easier walking through and seeing things.
And that's a project that's been a long time coming, and I know we're getting it close to.
We're getting very close. Yep.
Any other questions, for Mr. Hurd?
Just one thing, I was wondering, the book that you and Harry wrote,
Images of America.
is that still available?
Oh,
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it's
Is that
available at a lot of
available?
local stores like mine and Gardner, and it's also at Kitchen Garden and Pros on the Common, but we sell it right there at the museum. And 100% of the money goes to the museum.
That's
Yeah,
it's
nobody makes
really,
it down.
really interesting book on the history of Templeton. It's a pretty cool thing.
It's got a lot of cool pictures in it from older buildings that no longer exist and folks that were from town. A lot of folks don't know that John Boynton, who started WPI, his tin shop was in the Grange Hall. Is where the Grange Hall was. The Grange actually bought it from the estate. So,
Just dawned on me, I didn't plan this at all, but I had found this up where I volunteer and I was gonna give it to Adam for, see if we could put it in town hall. It's
18.
north view of Templeton Common, Central Part, 1836, Templeton scene reprint. It was
Yeah.
put together by Historical Inc. Oh, K. Gleason, Athol, Mass. You guys have one of those?
I think we got a few like that, but I don't know about that one.
I'm gonna look at it. Gonna see if we could put it up here. In a little rough shape, I think, but happy to come across it.
Mr. Chair,
Fine.
I move to approve the town property use event application for the 7th annual Motorpalooza as presented for September 25th from 11 to 4. With set up at 9 o'clock, subject to the town receiving a standard issuance certificate from Narragansett Historical Society and the health permit.
Second.
All right, there's a second. And Mr. Chair, I want to make a public disclosure that I am a life member of the Narragansett Historical Society.
I will also publicly disclose I'm a member as well.
As everybody should be, living in town.
There's a lot of guilt going on.
Yeah. Applications are available at the building and probably Tangway Jewelers. And if you go to Tangway Jewelers, you probably get asked.
You will
about
be
it.
asked.
So, he just doesn't have a card for us to show.
I know, we should have brought some applications. I think I was trying to get prepared for the public display of my presentation.
That's very
Thank you, Tom.
good.
You're welcome.
Any further questions, Steve? Good discussion, some good cross information and flow of information. I'm gonna bring this to the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Luck. Have a good, successful event,
Yeah.
gentlemen.
Thanks. Item 5E, Knights of Columbus, the boot drive. Mr. Andrews. I guess that's me.
Good evening. I'm representing the Knights of Columbus, 2536 and on River. We've done our annual, what they call a boot drive or Tootsie Roll Drive now for over 30 years up in the common area. And we are asking to be able to do it again on the 8th of October from 8 a.m. to 12 noon. We only take care of 5 intersections up there. And we don't do the one-way street behind the school. We don't use that area there. We don't go down there. And then we do the churches on Saturday afternoon and Sunday. And we're there for the handicapped kids and stuff. And we're just asking for permission. We've already got the chief's permission to do it. And we're just asking for your okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. West.
I move to approve the town property use application for the Knights of Columbus Boot Drive as presented for October 8th, times given in the presentation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments or discussion?
Do we need more information, Justice? Do we need a plan or a insurance or anything?
These boot drives are different. They don't need
different.
the
They don't
same thing.
require it.
Even though we're voting for it as town use, it doesn't have the same restrictions. And basically, the
Right.
application, because it's public.
And what we do, we will sign the papers as the people come to do their working.
Yeah.
And we will get some of them done before the Tuesday before at our next meetings, and then we'll get them back into Holly at that after they're done.
Oh, thank you.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? We'll call for the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Good luck. Have a great
Thank you
evening.
very
Thank
much.
you, George.
Up next, the Hen House Common Victrola license. Did I say that correct?
You're really close.
I know we've gone back and forth on that
Everybody
many times.
Fiddles.
Yeah. that would-
Oh, say it again, Lori.
Pictures.
Victuals.
Okay. Did anyone hear from him?
What licenses they have to have.
Okay.
So I did see on the license, Lori, perhaps you can answer for us. The building permit and the occupancy permit were not required because the prior ones were still in effect.
I can also tell you that there was a little confusion when they first went in. Holly and I would go back and forth about who was gonna do bring all the paperwork, so from now on, I will supply with the food permit renewals, the application for the common victuals. And that way, because as a team, we missed,
Oh,
so this is a catch up.
Okay,
Great.
very good. Thank you for that explanation.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Weiss.
I move to approve the common victualler license for the Hen House as presented, pending all fees, taxes are paid to date, and all required inspections are complete.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second for the common victular license. Any further discussions? Hearing none, bring it to the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Action item G, Police Local 155 Union Contract. I believe our town administrator will present on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is our last outstanding collective bargaining agreement that we need to settle. This will run from July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2025. It's a 3-year contract with their full-time police officers. It calls for each of the fiscal years. First year will be 2%. Following year will be 3.75%. And the year thereafter will be 4.25%. Please keep in mind that this union took zeros for years. This is probably one of the better contracts that they've received throughout, but they were also they worked well with the town. I think it's pretty fair. The personal days went down to 3, which is reflective in our policies. In addition to that, they struck their clothing allowance direct payout as well. So it's a pretty fair contract. The police are very happy, and this is just the final step. They've ratified, and once this board approves this evening, they'll be all set, and we'll have all our collective bargaining agreements all settled. I think it's a good thing, and the process went fairly well. Thank you.
Thank you for that. A few days going through this one, make sure I was digesting it and understanding it correctly. Anybody else on the team have any comments or questions of the TA?
I know what a PIA this process can be, so
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
thank
Lot
you
of work.
thank you for where you got us.
appreciate it.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Weiss.
I move to approve the agreement between the town of Templeton and Templeton Police Local 155, Massachusetts Coalition of Police, AFL-CIO for July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, as presented and for the board to sign.
Second that motion.
I have a
Well done,
motion.
Adam.
I have a motion and a second for the local contract to be presented and signed. Any further discussions, team? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Ms. Richard.
Yes.
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well.
Enough of the painful
Justice
part.
will have the copy to sign before we all depart this evening.
Yep.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Here's the pain part.
Here's the pain part. Item 5H Hotel Budget Amendment 2023-2.
Mr. Chair, this is the finance component for their pay raises, so they could be retroactive to July 1. And then we can get those processed. For the 2% for fiscal year.
Yep.
First year.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Weiss.
I move to approve the budget amendment 2023-2 as presented for the transfer of $23,905 from the Select Board intergovernmental account to the number one account, department account listed, and for the chair to sign.
Second that motion. Ouch.
Yes.
The 1,000 account.
Motion duly made and seconded for the budget amendment. The transfer for the department as listed. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, we'll bring this to the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths,
Yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thank you, Tim. Item number 2, heating oil contract award.
Yes, that's me, huh?
Mr. Chair, we had the bid opening. Mr. Sozik attended. I think he was really stressed out from opening the sealed bids. But I think
No
he'll take it. I think he'll take it from here.
So we ordered well, we didn't order, depends on your approval tonight, but the lowest bidder was Fraticelli Oil out of Leominster. And a locked in price of $4.09 per gallon. And between last year and this year, if we burn the same amount, we're looking about a $5,000 to $6,000 difference from last year. They will be the setup for automatic delivery. I'm sure I'll go to the site so them to get familiar. They do have a copy of all the buildings and tank sizes. So we're looking to award that. So we can start getting heating oil.
Very good.
That's actually the second bid that we did, because I did one with the state as well, but there was no lock-in price, it's a market price.
Right.
And guaranteed not to go up so much. So then I talked to Adam and we rebid it out as Templeton by itself, and we had a few inquiries, and Fraticelli was the cheapest.
Bob, you're saying estimated $5,000 up
Yeah,
from last year?
it's gonna cost us, if we stayed same amount of usage from last year, there's gonna be $5,000 to $6,000 deficit between the two.
But if I can further add, between the administrative order and then the weatherization work that we're gonna have going on, we're hopeful that we could keep that flat. But Bob's been keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, so keep the thermostats down, everybody that's listening.
Fire sweater.
And I know
Plastic on the windows, Bob.
the senior center, that's been up,
We're up.
it's always up. So we're gonna be monitoring them and it's gonna have a tight winter. Hopefully we have a mild winter.
Bob, quick question. The difference between market rate, which could fluctuate based on what's going on versus a lock-in, it was this basically we're deciding, let's go with the lock-in as an insurance rather
Mhm.
from the market rate fluctuation.
Correct,
right?
so the market can go up or down. And that changes, it can
You don't
change
think-
day to day.
Yeah.
Week to week.
We don't want to gamble on the trend. line.
There'll be a lot of monitoring and,
Okay.
and then, yeah, if it goes down, but all the tanks are full, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's gonna be automatic delivery and, I think overall, from what I hear from others, I think Templeton did pretty well at the 409. I believe,
I'm familiar with the company in terms, I know that you wrestled with responsiveness in the past. I've been a customer of Fraticelli, another disclosure.
Fraticelli.
Fraticelli. I like Celli. But Fraticelli, I've been a customer and they've been very responsive. It's never been a missed appointment. So I think you've got they've won the bid, but I think responsiveness, may not have been measured, but I have a good feeling about that. So you won't get that phone call or,
Yeah, years ago, I used to haul for them for this.
Yep.
And I know the owner and Steve, so I
Yep.
think we'll have a good relationship.
that's all. Sure.
And one quick question, do we
Sure.
keep our tanks like at a certain point, like when they, how it's automatic delivery, do we have them deliver at 100 gallons? or
No, it's, well,
We let it
they're,
go
they're
down
new,
low?
they're new to town. That I'm aware of, so it's gonna take them a couple to deliveries to see what the usage between each building.
Yeah,
A couple of years ago, we had several buildings run out several times. And they were on automatic. I was coming in on weekends so they could bleed the furnaces. And, but the usage, that's why I'm gonna start them out to help them get used to it,
yeah.
just so if it does run out, we don't get a charge. If they do run out.
So you can't have a set point and say, all right, when it gets down to 50, 75 gallons, that's what we consider time
Well,
to
then-
fill,
then
or
we would-
half tank, or,
Yeah, we would have to monitor them ourselves
yeah.
on a
Then,
weekly,
That's tough.
daily basis.
Then-
Yeah. It's,
but rather than run out, it'd be nice to have a plan of let's,
oh, we have a plan. They're gonna fill them and then we'll start
See what
monitoring. I'm
I'm
gonna have
saying.
my crew check them.
you
When
see
they
what
get
I'm
down there.
saying, though? If
What's
we-
that?
See what I'm saying? If we don't wait till the very last minute and then they run out, if we say, all right, at 50 gallons or, a quarter of a tank, we're gonna get more oil, then we don't run the risk of running out.
Right,
That's
so
just
it's
it.
gonna be their responsibility. That way they don't get charged.
And you could you tell them that, like, so when it's a quarter of a tank, we want a full tank? You know what
Yeah,
I'm
we
saying?
don't- Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
And if they're in town and somebody has a half a tank, they're not gonna not top that one off and just do that one. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying,
okay,
gotta make it worth their while.
okay.
It's a shame we couldn't keep it local, but it's a bid process.
Thanks
So,
for pointing
I'll
that
say
out.
that for Templeton businesses.
The process as described is the industry standard.
Yep.
Even at your own home, if you changed a vendor, the first couple months, they're figuring out where things are going.
Yeah.
What's the efficiency of your equipment? What are the heating degree days? How is Mother Nature treating us? There are a lot of factors that roll into that.
Older buildings, newer buildings, it's the roller coaster.
So we're doing all of
Yeah.
the plus
Recruitment,
ups and the green community work and that's all.
Yeah, we're improving. Our service last year that we had was great.
We will see some dividends from those, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I hope so.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rice.
I move to award the contract for the number 2 heating oil contract to the apparent lowest bidder, Fraticelli Oil and Propane, and for the town administrator to sign the contract.
Second that motion.
Have a motion and a second. For the number 2 heating oil bid contract award. Any further questions or discussions? We had a pretty short but robust cross feed of information there. Bring this to the vote, Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you, team.
Thank you.
Up next, item 5J, Juliet, Laurel View Road. We have a large contingent here from Laurel View, so thank you all for coming.
I was just gonna repeat what you sent to me. So we're almost there. We just got a few more steps left to have Laurel View go to the town vote to be accepted, and this first step is up to you to vote. Let me see, it's kind of small. Correct me if I'm wrong, Adam. Oh, by the way, I'm Colleen Fay from Laurel View.
Thank you for that.
Sorry.
I shouldn't have said that
Where'd
too.
she
I
come
just-
from?
Well, I'm more
heard you
familiar with,
earlier, But
yeah. Sorry, so we're almost there. And so this next step is for you to vote for your intention to lay out the way and for the planning refer Laurel View as-built plan to the planning board for its report. Everything else, one of the things that were voted on in May was additional funding to look at the as-built plans, the town council and everything, and he's come back and given Adam the okay that it looks good, that the road is built fine. And now we're just going through the final legal pieces before we can put it on warrant for the May report. We were hoping to have it on November, but because of timing, the planning board has 45 days to report back to us. And then it'll be up to the select board at another meeting after that, once the planning board reports its layout to you, that you will notify all the abutters, which is mostly the residents of Laurel View, of your intention on taking the road. And then it will go to town vote, hopefully in May. We were hoping for November, but too much time to dot all the i's and cross the t's. So I'm hoping with this you've been with us since the beginning when you accepted our petition to go to the planning board to accept the road as it is. And now we're wrapping it up.
Thank you. So this took 17 years, I believe, right? 17 years. Town council, we have the as-built plans right here. Lori's keeping an eye on them because she wants them back. These are the-
Put those up at all.
These are the as-built plans. Town council has reviewed them. Good news, the road's in the right place, no issues there whatsoever. This is the first step of the process. As Colleen mentioned, you have the memo from our attorney in your packet. So this is a significant way we're going to proceed forward. Unfortunately, due to the timing and the process that needs to take place, the final legal steps, it won't make the fall town meeting. We believe that will be on the annual town meeting for the acceptance of Laurel View Road. So with that, you have your as-built plans. If you want to refer to them, they're right here.
I think, Adam, you should mention too, that the original engineer took part in approving and reviewing.
That is correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the engineer was involved. in it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So, positive step. I'm sure the neighbors of Laurel View are very happy, and the select board will start the process. Any questions? Colleen's here. I believe, how many neighbors you got here?
Quite a few.
lot.
Great turnout.
I'm logged in if we want to show the plans that he's talking about at all, if anyone. All right, I'll bring him up. could you give me sharing?
Yeah. You should be able to.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for that.
I started on page 3 because that's basically starts with Hubbardston Road. This is, not really technical, but at least kind of shows the audience, the as-built plans. That's the bottom portion. Anything in particular?
Nope, thank you for that. Yeah, the order they were in our packet is, I like how you did this coming in off Hubbardston Road. If anybody has never been there, it's one large continuous loop with a single entrance and exit in and out.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, if I can, before you make the motion.
Sure.
Mr. Chair. I think it's important to note the select board did take priority, and they were supportive of the money allocated for town council to review the title and the plans and everything like that. So, it's really the board that allowed, brought it to, because whatever reason, whatever happened back in 2005, someone dropped the ball, and, we're not gonna place blame on anybody, but this board, certainly supported this initiative, and, that's what brought us here today.
Yep.
And I want to note that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you
Sorry,
for
Joe.
that.
No, you're
No,
fine.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
I
Richard.
move that the select board has the intention to lay out the way and refer the Laurel View Road as built plan to the Templeton Planning Board for its report.
Second.
I have a motion in a second. Any further discussion, team?
Just one, Bob, was this as-built with your recommendations? I remember you were saying that. It was.
I really didn't see the plan at all. The planning board and the select board and Laurie were. I actually didn't get to view the plan.
Okay. But once it's done, it'll be, plowable.
Well, if it's, the vote is in the spring, it's. I mean, it's in disarray. We're gonna continue the services unless something drastic happens out there. Absolutely.
And I think, I think they all knew that when we had the initial discussions. I mean, I remember the meeting when there were people sitting on the floor. We had everybody here.
Yeah.
And everyone acknowledged the shape it was in and the difficulty, and it wasn't going to be a, snap your fingers kind of thing, but yeah, this is the right way to go. It's tough from Bob's perspective, but we're headed in the right direction. We just gotta be able to provide him with the resources to be able to do it.
Thank you.
Well said, Mike.
Any other comments, discussions? It's certainly been a lengthy process. We're bringing it close to the finish line. Now we just need to get that last little nudge and push it over. Okay, team for the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
I vote yes as well.
Best of
Thank
luck. Keep up the good fight. You're almost there.
That's pretty powerful.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Looks like a great neighborhood to live in. I'll tell you that much. Any homes for sale out there?
I think you should, because he hasn't seen it.
I didn't hear her ask.
Bob, you don't want that?
If you want to.
Not right now.
If you wanted to do a moment of silence.
We did at the beginning. Yeah, I had requested.
Okay.
But
You
go ahead and do that. No, I
You didn't do
requested
it.
it before the, no, we
Oh,
didn't.
okay.
We didn't do it, Mike. No, it was before. It was before the meeting. A couple of people. We could do it at the end.
Opportunity now is to move just.
We could maybe just do it at the end. I
Okay.
think you could actually do that and add, my request. That would be fine.
Yep, that's fine. Action item K, we're getting there, team. Accept donations for the scoreboard and the batting cage at Gilman Waite Field.
I guess, Candy, are you doing this one or do
I can do it. Well, what do you want me to do?
you want to come up too?
Yes.
I mean, it's up to the
We're
chair.
here to we're representing the
Yeah.
Lions Club,
I see the half.
myself and Richard Cotis. When we originally talked about the batting cage, I'm sorry. When we originally talked about the batting cage, earlier this year, we were asked to present a letter when, things were on the move to, for the donation.
Thank you.
So I saw it on the agenda, so we decided to, it was time for us to write a letter. For the past 22 years, we have held our annual charity golf tournament. For each year, we select organizations, other clubs and town services as recipients from money raised at our events. In 2020, the recipient of the Templeton Annual Charity Golf Tournament was the Gilman Waite Field Fund. As we all know, COVID stopped school sports for a time and delayed projects. Our Lion, Richard Cotis, led the project, and together with Brad Bond and Mickey Kirby, they determined the best use of the funds. They decided the batting cage, destroyed by years of use and weather, was the best choice. Lion Richard Cotis researched the batting cages to find a quality cage and one that could be removed at the end of the season and stored inside, protecting it from the winter weather. The cage is here awaiting installation along with the scoreboard. At this time, we respectfully request the select board on behalf of Gilman Wakefield and the town youth accept the batting cage as a donation from the Templeton Lions Club.
Thank you for that.
And I don't have any information on the scoreboard. I know that was a donation from another.
It's in the trailer up at the field. If you've seen the trailer.
Yeah, that was already voted on.
Yeah.
Richard has a picture of the batting cage.
In the trailer.
It's just a rough idea or whatever. So there's instructions. How to set it up and remove it and stuff, so. For the winter.
It's all donation. It doesn't
It's all
go to
donation.
procurement considerations or anything, right?
No, the donations were, it's just a matter of the value, but asking our live to accept it. We noticed, because you accepted the scoreboard, but there's some, like the batting cage and all those. Yeah, we're gonna need those for the record.
Yep.
You don't need these, right?
No,
Okay.
no.
To the minutes.
You need your notes off the. back.
Yeah, probably. should. That was a dropping list there.
We will get a copy of this before you leave tonight. But yes, for record
I'm
purpose.
pretty sure we already sent this to the town, this thing. I don't know where it is, but I can get you another one. This is fine.
I know Richard has been working also with
Brad Bond.
no, but for the lighting, for the Tom Berry.
Oh,
yeah,
Tom
it
Berry,
says
yeah.
Brian Pierce, Andy Parker, Dick Cotis, Bradley Bond, Andy Woodford, Tom Dow, Bob Sozik, and Tom Berry. Thank you.
That's probably not exactly what it's gonna look like because we were researching 2 or 3 other places. And the one that we've got is actually better than that one, for just about the same price.
Oh, so exciting.
It's always
I'm happy for the.
And it's gonna be, if, as far as where it's gonna be put, we've already got the location. Something in there, so we didn't want to put it there again. In case for some reason that had to get opened up or whatever so we put it on the other side, which is,
proves the old adage, it takes a village.
Absolutely.
And this is awesome to see the village coming together to do it.
To have it come, can't wait for this, building.
You guys are building a great collaboration.
Two groups went to the Boy Scouts,
Nice.
troop 27. And the other,
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Ms. Richard.
yes,
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
I vote yes as well.
thank you.
On the grounds, the placement of such, whether it be the scoreboard or the batting cage.
No,
We've been working on this quite a bit, so.
that was a good explanation procedurally until that special legislation is.
Is there a side? Because if I was the home team, I'd want to be with the bad cages on that side, but it's because the way that to represent for Bob, and they all talked and they thought everything would be good, so. And everybody from the rec department thought this was great. We can't,
That makes perfect sense.
yeah. So everything should be done, and the electrician is gonna do their thing too at the same time.
I have the scoreboard and batting cage placed at Gilman Waite Field as presented.
Second.
Motion duly.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't need to.
And this is per the. On this,
That's the addition on our guidelines.
Did he accept?
Well, the board would vote on the guy. Everybody falls under me except for the NRSD and Monty Tech.
So you have to go by, but how do you go with the police? They have guidelines of their own, things they can't let go.
There's a public records request for the police department. I would send that over to the chief. The chief would provide me the records.
What if there's a thing that they can't do that?
Why do we know that?
Can't hear, sorry, Terry.
I thought they have things that they can't release.
Well, I mean, it's if somebody does a public records request, Terry, if somebody goes down to the police station, and wants to talk with the chief or get a report or whatever, that's a different story. But if a public records request comes in, then I would be the one handling it. And there's certain guidelines that need to be followed. And I have so many days to respond, so many days to do this. and
Yeah.
It's just a matter of access to records.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Go ahead.
So currently, what is in place if you want to receive public records from the Water and Light Company?
Somebody were to send me a records request.
Or if they were to send it to them, they must have something already in place.
Well,
Why is this coming into fruition is my
We
question.
had an issue where it became a problem because somebody sent a letter, an individual, and sent to the Light and Water and sent to me. I replied with the records we have. And I was under the assumption that they applied, that they provided the records, and it wasn't the case, and I received an appeal from the Secretary of the Commonwealth.
Okay,
And then I followed up with Mr. Driscoll, who provided the records, and we were able to get those records to the individual. I just don't like being in that predicament. It
Right.
makes me,
A little nervous
held
that you
responsible for
can't-
something that I can't
Right.
provide records for, until,
and he had no problem releasing those records, correct? I mean,
he did get this records.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is updating our own guidelines and it's adding information to further.
It's adding
To
some-
further serve the public.
Correct.
And this is a situation that's actually, last week I was on a Civics Plus webinar that was Massachusetts specifically. But they're an organization out of Atlanta, Georgia, and one of the major universities. This is a problem across the nation when people request public records with multiple departments, multiple agencies, and without a designated RAO, it puts everybody kind of in that path, like this is just, again, procedural, getting it the way it's supposed to be. And it doesn't matter, it was a mistake, we found the mistake, let's fix the mistake, let's move it up.
And my point is there any other offices in town that need to be put on the list? There, you know,
No,
No, because most town departments and offices fall under the auspices of our town administrator.
okay.
And it is because we have the separate commissioners for light and water, and then NRSD is marching to their own drum and their own sheet of music on this as an outside entity.
are you good?
Monty Tech is just as well.
Okay.
Did that explain it for you? Yeah. Okay. Anything to add?
All set?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the public records guidelines as presented.
Second.
Motion duly made and seconded to approve the public records guidelines as presented. Any further discussions, team? Second call, any further discussions? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths,
Yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you, team. Moving right along, action item 5, general release, 59 Brooks Village Road.
Mr. Chair, I'm recusing myself from this agenda item 5O as an olive. I am a direct abutter. I'll abstain and refrain from
5O,
comment. 5N. Wait a minute, 5.
November.
5N, oh,
5
sorry.
November.
It changed.
5N as in November. As I'm a direct abutter, I will abstain and refrain from comment.
Thank you for that. Full disclosure.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, sir.
I have reviewed the attached letter from Mr. Lutchford, and I offer the following comments. In my opinion, while the town was attempting to come to an arrangement with Mr. Lutchford in the hopes of avoiding litigation, we were not able to do so. There is no oral or written agreement in place, and Mr. Lutchford was not instructed to do by anyone to do any work. It is also my opinion that because Mr. Lutchford now seeks reimbursement in the amount of $17,856.60, this matter should be treated more formally as potential litigation. Therefore, if you wish to discuss it, I suggest you schedule an executive session at a future meeting. That's all the comments I will have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that.
You know, obviously you see Mr. Lutchford is here.
Yes, Mr. Lutchford is here.
Would you like to speak?
Yes, would you come up to the front, Mr. Lutchford?
I first came to Mr. LaMontagne. I wrote him a letter actually in January 27th of 2021. This has to do with an issue that has been perpetual, and it's been perpetual damage to my property since I've owned the property almost. Originally, my driveway would become flooded, and I would call the town DPW, and they would respond. And in the early 2000s, there was a collapsed culvert under the road. And so there was 2 pipes there, corrugated metal. And it took about 10 years from the first time I was flooded until the town finally dug up the road and replaced those culvert pipes with plastic pipes. And so from that point, actually in 2012, I believe the response was because we had a flood in 2012. I have pictures of it. I'm not sure if you have those in
We
front of you.
did.
or
We
not.
got that entire packet that you had asked to give to us. We have it.
Great. Okay. So you'll see that that's a 2012 photo of the flood that I have captured. I can't count how many times I've had to park my vehicle across the road so public couldn't traverse through that flood. There are many other times that I've been flooded over because the culvert pipes are clogged. And in the early days before Mr. Zozic was the DPW director, there was an interim period between when Bud Chase was the DPW director and he became DPW director, that after the repair, we looked pretty good. And then somewhere in the last 5 years, there's been 3 issues. The fourth one came up while discussing with Mr. LaMontagne. The 3 issues that relate to this is I would like the town to take responsibility for the out of control beaver issue, which is happening to their culvert pipes. It's happening to my property. It's happening to property across the street. It's happening to property on Ridgewood Terrace, and it's happening to property on Drury Lane, and it's happening to property down in on Pondview Road or whatever it's called. And these are all affected properties. And when I call the town, and I was referred to call the Board of Health, and I was told, well, I could hire a trapper. And I'm not willing to assume a beaver responsibility for the town when all these properties are being affected. I think the town needs to take control of that issue. That's one point. Second point is I don't know how the culvert pipes were before they installed them, before they put the new ones in. I don't know how the old ones sloped, but in my packet, you'll see that the Trout Brook flow is blocked by the culverts. What happens is the pipes are sloped up on the downward flow of the brook. I have a picture there that shows the inlet side underwater and the outlet side totally without water, meaning the water is being trapped on my side. That outlet side should be dropped. The elevation should be lowered. So what happens if I have standing water there? Instead of a brook, I have a pond. And in the early days, in the 2000s, I remember there used to be banks of Trout Brook, and the brook mostly stayed in there unless there was a beaver issue or, like I said, the collapsed culvert pipe. In discussing this with Mr. LaMontagne, he actually was very generous with his time. He came down and took a look. I showed him how my driveway has been sinking in the last 5 years, accelerated. And this is right in coinciding with the beaver uptick. But also, in response to that, he had Mr. Sozik come down and take a look too. And later on, I heard that they used a consultant to bounce the idea off of what was going on with the driveway. They blamed my driveway. So what they told me was, and what the consultant that they had told me was, the DPW foreman, Mark, brought him over to a section on my driveway that had a hole in it about the size of maybe a silver dollar. But you could see there was a void there. And he pointed to that and said, they believed that there was a culvert pipe under that was collapsed. And so therefore, my fault that the driveway is collapsing. Now, when I showed them where the culvert, actually, I don't even have a culvert pipe. I had a drain pipe under my driveway. It was put there for an equalizer. It's an equalizing pipe. This is what the function is. If there is an overflow of Trout Brook, then it allows the water to go from one side of the driveway to the other without topping over and rushing over and eating away the asphalt. And it's intended so that the water, it's a non-directional flow. So the water can go back towards Trout Brook in like a reasonable amount of time. And I'm talking about if the culvert pipe under the road is clogged and they clear it out, the water will go back and go forth. That's great. But they're telling me that my culvert pipe must have a hole in it or must be collapsed as a reason that there's a sinking of my driveway. So I've already repaired this driveway in the 2003, we'll call it. I've already had to do all the work because of that collapsed culvert pipe to begin with, because it wasn't traversable. I couldn't get out there. I actually had to go to my mailbox many times with fisherman waders on. Now I have an elderly mother-in-law that lives with us. I've had to move her out of there during the reconstruction that we just had so we could redo the driveway. This is the second time. The first time it was part of a larger project where we did a general improvement. And so we addressed the culvert and the driveway affected by the culvert in that 2003. And so that was a quarter of that price back then, probably about $5,000 worth of it was just that location. So fast forward through these years, and they finally replaced that pipe in 2012. I'm hearing now, after being flooded over since then, I've been flooded over many times, many years. The picture you have there, I think, is from 2019, after they replaced the pipes, but I've had many between 2012 and then. That just happens to be the picture I have on file. And when I've been plowing that driveway in the last 5 years, I've noticed the sinking and the trenching. And that's one of that picture that I showed you is just one of those many times. And the response to the DPW and my letter finally to Adam was that I wanted the town to take some responsibility there because this is a perpetual issue. And it was going to affect my driveway. This repair came up to $17,000. Now, I understand Mr. Montaigne is talking about how the high cost is. But the reason it's that cost is because the town did not accept my offer. I asked them to take some responsibility and I wanted them to just level it. I just wanted the DPW to come in, take responsibility, just go over the driveway. No digging, no excavating, just go over it. But they insisted that I had to excavate my equalizing pipe, my drain pipe, because they claimed that that was the fault of the driveway. That equalizing pipe was 35 feet away, 40 feet away from the spot that they were showing that consultant of where there must be a collapsed culvert pipe. Now, because they would not take any responsibility to take this to the board, they forced me to excavate my pipe in order to bring this to the board. They would not bring this to the board unless I excavated my pipe. So what I had to do is I had to hire a fellow named Jim Kroplasky. He's got this excavator. In order to get his excavator in there, we had to drop the cable and power line, move them over at a cost of $1,037 to get the cable over, and a cost of $666 from the power company in Templeton to get that. It was a neutral wire, a rounded neutral that had to be moved because the reach of that excavator to excavate down to where they were saying there was a culvert pipe that must be collapsed was going to be right directly under those wires. So in order to get all that fit in there and get all the equipment in there and get the digging done, I had to comply in order just to get this matter to be brought to the board. That cost an extra $6,500 of that excavator, just him alone. So knock that $17,000 down to what it could have been. When I was getting prices on just getting the driveway level, I got estimates. And the low one was $8,200 and the high one was $13,000. There was two others that came in almost exactly the same at $9,600. So that's the cost. That's the cost it would have been just to do that. But because of the cable, because that excavator had to be in there, instead of just putting pavement in there, we had to do all that digging. Those wires had to be moved. So yes, that added another, whatever the math is, $1,600, $1,700 to that project. But the reason I'm up to $17,000 because of the assistance of Mr. LaMontagne and Bob Sosik, the director, because they claimed that I had a collapsed culvert pipe, which I didn't even have a culvert pipe. All that pipe that I have, that's a drain pipe, which was functioning properly, by the way. And you can tell because anytime there was ponding, the water would rise up one side of the driveway and equalize on the other side. And you could see that was happening before it was over the driveway. I'm not always down at the driveway when this is happening. Sometimes somebody reports to me, hey, your driveway's underwater again. And I call the DPW. They've been very responsive since 2021 after Adam got involved. And the DPW came down and actually put a grate system in front of that culvert pipe in order to, the culvert pipe under the road, in order to catch whatever debris was clogging their pipes. Because this has happened so repeatedly. Even though they've been responsive, quite responsive since then, that grate system just made the problem worse. What happened was the grate system acted like a screen. If anybody put a filter in anywhere, they know that a filter catches stuff. Well, that's what this grate system did. And so what it forced it to do is a 4-foot grate system, I believe, maybe 5 feet, but it was at least 4 feet. And it caught, and you see that in your pictures there somewhere. And what happened was as the season would go on, the grate system would, the water against the grate system would get higher because a screen was catching debris. And so they tried to have the foreman or other workers come down and clear out the screen every so often. But what logistically happened there was it caused me to have a full season of ponding that I've never had before, for a full season. And I noticed that collapse of that driveway became accentuated during that season. And I asked what to do. I mean, I asked the DPW director, who's going to pay for my repair? And he deferred me to talk to Mr. LaMontagne. And Mr. LaMontagne told me he's a good listener, and he definitely is. But his approach now, saying that he wants you to take this in executive session instead of, and making it a litigious matter, instead of just trying to do a release here where I get some reimbursement from the town to help me, because it says twice now. First time was $5,000 in that section, and this time it would have been $9,000. But except for them forcing me to excavate that and move the wires and all that. So I'm challenging his version of how this developed. And I am insisting that the town can consider some type of compensation. But beyond this, there is still that beaver issue that I'd like the town to take some responsibility on. Because again, it's a town issue. I called down to the state, talked to a fellow named Dave Waddle. He's the wildlife policeman or whatever he is. And he told me this is a town issue. Now, how the town handles it is what the town decides, I guess. I called the animal control officer. Turns out she's from Winchendon. And when she came down, she told me she's just in charge of kitty cats and puppy dogs. I know that if there was a bear on the property, somebody would be down there to remove it or something like that. But I don't own a beaver. I never had one as a pet. And these are all over the place. And that's one issue. The second issue that I'm talking about is that culvert pipe. I've just gone through the $17,000 expense of repairing that section of my driveway. And I've got it. What I did this time was we dug the whole thing out. In 2003, we took what the town's culvert pipes did to my driveway, and we just re-leveled it. And we re-leveled it and paved it and done. And so we thought we were set, because once the town was going to fix that pipe, which it turned out to take another 9 years to do, we lucked out. There was some ponding and there was some rutting, or whatever you want to call it, where it's this kind of slope to that one side towards the brook, towards Trout Brook. Trout Brook is 80 feet from my driveway.
Yep.
And that means I had an 80-foot pond for that whole season. And every time that we've had these floods, I've had ponding and up and over my driveway. And the town responds pretty fast when I block off the road, because it's going over the road. And you see the pictures there of it flooding over the road. That I can't count how many times it was, because I really don't know. You might be able to pick that up when talking to the dispatch for Templeton, because I called it in so many times.
Right.
I've had the town, the girl down at TBW tell me that they've taken 2 truckloads of debris out of the 36-inch pipe that's upstream, but still from my property. It's a Trout Brook splits there, goes one way and comes down here. And the lower one has 2 18-inch plastic pipes that are parallel. The other one that splits off is a 36-inch, a big one. I've gone in there myself and cleaned that pipe out when the DPW hasn't been responsive. And I believe me, when I'm in there, I can feel the thing shaking because cars are going over. But there's nothing else I can think of to do if the response is too slow. Because what would happen is that's Betty Pond above there, and you would have to block off the flow to the larger outlet and send all that water down to the smaller outlet, because that culvert pipe's not maintained, or it's got sudden beaver debris clogged in it. Now, when Mr. Sosek came down and he looked at that, what he told the driveway, he looked at that, he said, before my time, and actually Adam said the same thing, before my time, that culvert pipe should have, the culvert pipes that go under that section 80 feet from my driveway should have been a boxed culvert. I never really thought about that before, but as soon as he said it, it made sense. Yes, because it's not a bridge, because that would be way more expensive, but it's a culvert that's got a design that doesn't trap and close Trout Brook. It lets Trout Brook flow. Right now, the way you see those pictures, you see it's blocking. That's without flow. And the minute we start having spring runoff, and this is what happens every spring, or most springs, if we have a significant regular season, once you have the snow melt and things start flowing out of both sections of Trout Brook under the 36-inch pipe, and then these two 18-inch pipes. By the way, two 18-inch pipes are not equivalent to a 36-inch pipe. That box culvert would do the job at the lower pipe. But beyond the not being sized correctly and should be a box culvert, it's pitched upwards. So that has to be addressed. Now, I've done all this work, and I have no assurances from the town that they're going to fix that culvert pipe. They're going to do anything about it. I've already done the response that on my end so that I can get traversable out there and plow it twice now. I've patched it all along as it's been sinking and doing puzzle cracking. And I've managed to hold it together those 2 out of the last 3 years. And now finally it just got to where I couldn't trust it for another season. So we had to give a go to have a contractor come in there during the dry season. Because boy, once you get into the fall, that water starts flowing again. And if it's being trapped, we can't do anything about excavating. So we had to take that action now. So we had no choice but to proceed forward, but I wanted the DPW to do it. And I asked them starting in, I actually asked them starting in January 27th of 2021. But when Adam and Bob came out, it was this season after I was, after a string of letters, I sent those letters and I followed with emails. And I mentioned that there is some authority from the DCR under Massachusetts general law that allows the commissioner to assess damages against the town to cover my total expenses, and not just now, but prior, going back to the original damages. All I ever wanted was the town to take responsibility on this one to just level it. But they required me to do that, all of that extra work, just so we could sit here in front of you guys and have me present it. And it wouldn't be allowed otherwise. So that's my side of the story. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Oh, I
don't have any.
So I heard what Adam said in terms of decision-making process. I know that the board had some process for this. Whether, I needed facts. I know there's a lot of material in our packet, a lot of
Sure.
emails back and forth.
Yep.
The pictures. Bob, did you happen to see? I'm not gonna ask him questions. I just said, did you happen to see the it was like a 12 megabyte packet with pictures at the end? Did you happen to see that? Like he referred to, do you mind if I call you Dave?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. He had pictures of flooding. So some of the things that he was talking about, I was just wondering if you had seen.
Yeah.
Okay. So I needed facts to understand this. You did a great job. Very respectful. Unbelievable job of getting me there. May I ask the question? I really want to ask the question in terms of fact gathering. Does the town agree with the collectively, do we agree with how Dave just laid it out? Can I ask that question? I know that Adam had a consideration in terms of we're trying to collect facts and we're trying to figure out, how to move forward. And I'd like to be able to do it equitably, but I also know that there are processes. In other words, we have not been able to talk to Bob or otherwise, but I want to make sure that we're processing through. But I would like to figure out an equitable solution so not everyone's lawyering up if that's because no one wins at that point. But again, it's about collecting facts and otherwise to be able to get through that. So I really want to say, Mr. Chair, what are we prepared to tonight now that Dave has laid out all of the information? Do we want to proceed with a continued fact finding, or do we want to? I mean, there's no suggested motion.
There is no. Mr. Chair, if I may, I agree with Adam. It's a lot of information, a lot of emails, a lot of pictures. I think you, as a board, need to take the time to look at it. You can discuss it amongst yourself.
Yeah.
And then move on from there.
Okay,
I agree with that.
okay.
I actually would have suggested it.
Yeah.
Because that packet you have, I just actually got that to Adam this morning because I thought maybe it'd be helpful to the board. That's all. There was emails and there was
that's why I wanted
letters,
to make sure.
and you don't even have the letters in front of you, I don't think.
Right.
We have a
Right?
lot.
But I
we have a
refer to
lot.
them in that packet, so.
Yeah.
We have a lot of information here, but
Sure.
agreed. We got this morning and
Right.
this was a lot to digest.
It was a lot for me to prepare. I'm legally blind.
You
So
did
the
a
packet I brought
incredible
you,
job at
I
describing
can't read the
conditions.
packet I brought you.
Okay.
I can see it on my computer and that's the best I can do.
So what I thought was very helpful was to understand the north-south culverts. Because I'm thinking now as a map, the north-south culverts underneath Brooks Village Road. That's supposed to channel water. And then you refer to the drainage pipe, which is a smaller pipe the leveling pipe
That's right.
as an east-west running
Correct.
east-west running.
And you can have it, by the way, if you want. It'll still
saw the
function.
pictures,
It was
yeah, I did.
functioning when I took it out. It'll still function. It
Yep.
didn't have a hole in it like they were suspecting, and it was 40 feet away from the spot they were talking about.
Definitely agree that we need to kind of.
Matter of fact, that picture I have, there is a picture there that shows the excavator. And if you look at that, from the view that I'm showing you, there's a cut right where his big truck is hanging off the edge of that thing. They dug down 4 feet there. And that dig is right where the town claimed I had a culvert pipe under there that must be collapsed. There was nothing there except for gravel and pavement. The pavement just had a void under it that made it a pothole. And that's why the consultant that I talked to that they had, his name is Gary Young, he said he wished he had known that the town would have told him that my drain pipe was further down. And he was the one, and he was shown by the foreman that location as the culprit. And he said he wished he would have had that conversation with me before he went down to look at that, or that I had been told to be available to him down there. And he would have had entirely different opinion that he gave Mr. Sozik in his office. I don't think Mr. Sozik met him at the driveway. I think Mr. Young said he met the foreman. But I did meet with Mr. Sozik at the driveway along with Adam on the second visit of Adam. So, but that's an issue all by itself because Mr. Young didn't know the history of the driveway, how it was reconstructed back in 2003. I had loads of bank run gravel brought in there and compacted for a 200-foot section. Because that's the section that was, when it gets ponded over there, even though it's 80 feet away, it gets ponded for 180 feet laterally of the driveway. So when it gets to that side and stays there long enough, and you've got vehicles coming in and out, and trucks coming in and out, you can take any soil you wish to and mound it and compact it, and it's just like a pitcher's mound, it'll stay tough. But you put that thing in a mound of water, and you step on it, or you put weight on it, that thing's gonna squish. And that's what's been happening down there. My driver's been squishing during this process over time. I was glad that it lasted as long as I did, but now I've got this new one in. And I wouldn't have had to do that because I still have another portion of my driveway that's closer to my house, the last, we'll say 300 feet that I won't have to, 400 feet, that I won't have to touch for another 20 years because it was put in the same time as this one, but it didn't have this effect. It didn't have this ponding effect. And I can just take care of that with sealer and a crack filler and as we go. So there's no problem there. That one there at the end of the driveway, I had to do because of a matter of safety, just getting in and out. And now that we've got my elderly mother-in-law, I couldn't delay it.
So that's my concern, at least for this evening. I think if we pull back, try and ascertain facts, timelines or otherwise, I realize that there's been actions on both parts and I realize that, but is there anything that is unsafe right now? I know that there was action taken. I saw the pavement or otherwise.
Well, I will tell you, I'm still working on that driveway. Even though I've had a contractor come in and do these at these costs, I still have to do all the final work, which is I have to pack the edges because right now you've got a lifted asphalt and then there's nothing. You know, it's like a shoulder. So I have to go along with some more compacted gravel or some crushed stone and kind of get that up to the same level as the asphalt. So when a tire hits that, they won't pull them right into off the edge of the driveway there. Because now that's a mound that's going through there.
Right.
Now it's a nice compacted mound. It's very solid. And he compacted it with a 30,000 pound excavator for every layer he put in there. He dug it right out to the base so that we know exactly what's there. And we put in all stone at the bottom, 2 feet of stone, I mean, large stone, 6 to 12, maybe even a little bit more here and there. And then went the rest of the way with bank run gravel, and he compacted every section as he dumped it in there until he got up to the level. And I actually forced that to be designed differently to try to make it town proof. So that now I brought the level up to the level of the road. So I'm hoping that if there's never a ponding issue again, but if there is a ponding issue, it's going over the road as soon as it goes over my driveway and somebody has to respond. But I shouldn't have had to do that expense to get that done. This is just a driveway, 80 feet from Trout Brook. And it's not the driveway's fault that it sank.
Emergency situation or anything like that, there's just gonna be life health suffering.
Well, I have to do something with shoulders. That was my answer to what your question is. I have to beef up the shoulders a little bit. The driveway's in, it's safe. I've kind of put these reflectors along the edge of the asphalt so that people are aware, don't go this way, that way, and just stay in the middle of 13 feet wide at the section of that entire asphalt. It's all level. So that's all good. And I trust we're okay. I might have put guardrails in, I thought about that, but I don't know what the expense would have been. And I know I can't afford it. And I'm at a point where I can't afford to live there anymore, actually, because if this keeps happening, I don't know what I can do. I'm into my retirement savings for this project. Okay, well, anyway, for your consideration, I appreciate it.
Again, there was no suggested motion. Thank you for the presentation. This definitely has got to be investigated further. I'm not in any position to even entertain a suggestion for a motion or anything.
No,
I don't know how to present it to you.
We still need
Yeah.
to do some.
I want to, Adam's guidance. I want to state, I wanted to hear more about it, but I want to follow Adam's lead for how we can, I would like to find an equitable solution. Like I said, I'd rather so people aren't spending money to,
It sounded like Mr. LaMontagne's lead was to let me sue you. That's what it sounded like to me. I'm not trying to do that. I just want the town to help with this project. I would request that they help with the prior project, but I'm not. And I'd even, I'd be willing to sign a release to relieve the town from all the prior damages and costs that I've incurred trying to keep those repaired as the driveway's been sinking. So I've been agreeing to do that, and he originally had worked up a release for me to sign, but it was at Bob's discretion about what work was going to be done. And I said, well, what's that mean? I have to have some type of definition of what's to be done, not that he comes down with a bucket of asphalt and puts it in a patch. I couldn't, so that's what I wanted them to do.
Yep,
We
we've
have
got
all the
everything.
information.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't want to keep you any longer. I know it's late.
No, I thank you very much. You did a really good job of explaining it. And I appreciate it.
I'm available for questions anytime
Okay.
somebody wants to call.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
You had a lot of detail in that.
Moving on, item 5O is an Oscar. Actions regarding an MOU for rural streets program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is relative to a program offered by state. We have, I believe, 2 streets eligible for those signage improvements. And this would make us, I believe one of them is Berry Road. I believe is the other road. Where the state will have these consultants that go out, review safety improvements that can be done with signage at particular roadways within the town. And this will make us eligible for those improvements to be made at those said identified streets that the state identified for the town of Templeton.
Their stuff, our work. Materials.
Yep.
Yeah.
Easily, yeah.
Materials.
Yeah. In a nutshell.
Correct.
For translation, another unfunded mandate.
Well, it's based on.
Yes.
His work output.
Yep.
I know I'm
You'll
not,
at least you
but I
get
just
stuff.
had a question about is there a time period that I should be knowing about that you'll consider this? My next step, so we can keep sort of something in mind, what I would expect to hear when. I apologize for interrupting, but I realize that's sort of unfinished. That part of it.
Take it, it's an action item.
It is.
So,
I don't know what I should have requested for that time when or not. But I should know about your process.
the ball, the metaphor, the ball's in our court. We basically said we've taken all this and now the board's trying to ascertain facts, position and otherwise. So as an action item, it's basically up to a board member or the chair to assign to basically say who's working this.
Okay, so how does
What do you
that
think?
happen?
And we've got our,
Do I have to request it?
No,
no.
What do you wanna work with on
You're
this?
projecting here that like months? Next year, or
okay.
This will be us. We have our workshop
Mike.
coming up.
What?
30 days. Talk about it, the workshop and then go to.
No later
No
than,
later than.
yeah.
Later than 30.
So no later than, Dave, I'll take it on, the board doesn't work all together when we're not in session,
You
yeah,
can't.
so.
I just wanted to have some type of
But
understanding.
again, I didn't want to say too much because I really, we are in absorption mode.
Understood.
We've done this many times before. I've been on for 4 years. We've had many situations all across the town trying to figure out how to proceed through or otherwise. And I will take it on. I will work with all of the stakeholders. As far as communication to you, like we were just, I don't know if you heard say, as far as hearing back, no later than 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah, because we meet together twice a month. And we want to really make sure that we're providing the public, we're providing you with updates. But let me work with the stakeholders. I'll actually talk with the chair about, just is accepting a task item. I got a lot of things. I owe Jeff a bunch of things that I had done for the last one I'm working on. But I'm familiar with trying to get through an issue like this.
Is this something-
Driveways in particular.
Okay. Is this something that gets decided outside of the course of a regular
No,
meeting?
absolutely
So-
not. No, but we do collect the information. We do a lot of the assessment, a lot of the staff work, if I could characterize it as that. We didn't leave it like that, but I think anyone could have walked out saying, well, it's in the board's hands, but again, you have the major interest in this, financially, safety, everything, but let me work on this, with the stakeholders. I just don't want to start pointing fingers or
No, I
otherwise.
just was asking
Yep.
for the process.
Yep. Are you good with that,
Don't know
Mr. Chair?
about
Very,
Okay.
very well said.
So no later than 30 days and I'm working the case.
Sure thing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Back to our region, our previously scheduled.
Yes.
So materials,
Believe we,
win-win, right?
it's a good thing for the town.
Mr. Chair,
Rice.
I move to approve the memorandum for understanding for the Rural Streets Program with MassDOT as presented and for the town administrator to sign.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second for the MOU with MassDOT for the rural streets programs. Any further discussions or comments, team?
I'm glad I got the chance in public meeting to let Jeff know that I'm still working on it.
Thank you for that.
Oh, I ain't forgot.
Oh, good. You're in his little notebook of things not yet.
I am. That was the 5-hour meeting. So I took I took my list. I finished my list before I went down to the hotel bar. Went to sleep.
Any further comments, discussions on the MOU? Seeing none, let's bring this to the vote. Ms. Brennan? All set.
Oh, he's got the vote going.
I've got-
He's asking for your vote.
I'm all set on the issue, so I'm a yes on the board.
Okay. Ms. Griffiths?
Yes.
Ms. Richard?
Yes.
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you, Dean. Coming down to the wire. Action 5P, setting the annual goal setting and retreat date.
Pulling up my calendar now.
Anyone have any suggestions for that? Date wise?
So today's the 14th. When's budget kickoff, Adam? Do you recall? Okay. We next meet on the 28th. We just want to do an additional meeting. Whether it's in, it's in a week that we have a meeting, meet like a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or well, not Friday, because that's not a work day for us or for the town support staff, although it's our retreat, so minimally staffed. I'm traveling a lot the last 2 weeks of September, so maybe looking at the first week or second week of October. I think we gotta do it. I don't think it's something, yeah.
We can't
Well, we have to, yeah.
continue to
It's-
push it off.
And I
Yeah,
don't want to
they've been
convert any
pushing
of our
off, yeah.
meetings.
I'm unavailable the third week of October, but prior to that, up until the 14th, I should be fine with anything in October.
Tuesdays are better for me.
Tuesdays?
I have teaching commitments on
Okay.
Monday evenings.
October 4 or 11. We have a meeting would be on the 12th.
What's September 27th?
Or will it be on the 12th? That's-
I'm
Oh, you
away.
can't.
I'm away. Sorry.
My apologies. That's right, you did say that.
4 or 11.
I'm good with 4.
Either one would work for me.
I can make 4 work.
4 with you.
Sure. It sounds like we have a consensus.
October 4th,
What time?
5.
5 p.m.
Oh, what about TCTV?
We don't cover,
We don't.
Yay.
it's our
It's
retreat.
public meeting, but
That's
it's not.
right.
Bye, Dave. It's a public meeting, but it's not broadcast.
Right.
And we had been doing,
Yes.
we've done them at senior center in the past,
Fire station.
fire station.
That was at the fire station.
We've had it at the fire station for many years. I
I
believe it's
don't.
been at the,
I've never been.
right,
one at
I
fire
believe
Oh,
it-
that's
it's
what John.
also been at, yeah. It's also been at the senior center,
Yeah,
but
might
either
well
one.
resume.
Where do you want to do it?
What's available.
October 4th, 5 o'clock.
Fire station.
Well, that's a Tuesday. Tuesday is usually fire department night. So
Oh, is it?
we need to run that past the chief.
But whatever.
We'll
I can
just have it
schedule,
here.
Or here. I can't do there, here.
I mean, we could, right? Would it be more?
Yeah, I don't want to sit
here?
like, I don't want
I
to
don't
sit like
have-
this. I want to sit around a table. That's.
Right,
we're
I mean, we
supposed to-
could lay it out where.
The town accountant's office has around,
True.
Okay.
Oh, not anymore.
No, it's not there anymore.
We'll figure out the
We'll figure
particulars.
it out.
In time, 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
5.
Town office. Here.
we'll figure it all out. We have a date and time, we're good. More important.
Way to go, Justice. See what you did? It was perfect. It's all on you. No. Aren't you? Isn't he the one that posts them?
Yeah.
So
We all
awesome.
No, it's
You did a
not.
great
no,
job.
They alternate.
Okay.
Yeah, you got, she's not here,
All
so
right.
we can't throw that one. in.
Nice job, Mr. Chair. There you go. Love it.
Great, moving right along, the agenda showed a discussion, but that was actually entered during public comment, so we're gonna skip beyond that. Julie, I believe you had a request.
I can actually make that official if you want. I make a motion to pass over discussion veteran services officer position.
Second that motion.
Motion duly made and seconded. Seeing no further comments or people chomping at the bit, we'll call it to a vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths,
Yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Curry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you. There, we made sure we dotted the i's crossed.
Yep. That's what I thought.
We didn't need to make a motion for the goal setting.
No, we did not.
I would actually like to request a moment of silence for the death of the Queen. If we could do that, that would be appreciated.
We can do that, and I
Amazing
will,
woman.
I will also ask at the same time, those who may or may not know, John Whipple, the son of the former police chief, John Whipple, from the 40s and 50s, I believe. His wife Sherry passed this past weekend, so a moment of silence for her would be appropriate as well. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Board member comments? I have. Jeff has none.
None.
None?
Actually, I would just like to request an update at our next board meeting on Scout Hall and where we are at with that, because I know there's a couple of different things going on with that, and I'd like to see that come to completion in the very near future would be great, but I would like an update on that. If you could put that on the agenda, please.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Mr. Montaigne, anything? I have no comments.
What about the CPC?
When you said that, I didn't see anything on the agenda.
On
The
original
deadline
one
is
was-
September 22nd. It's supposed to be voted on through your.
you missed it. Amended agenda because you were worried about the.
You mean for the 9,000 and the 75,000.
That'll be on the final warrant. That'll be in the front of the board on the October board meeting, the first, I believe it's the first October meeting. I'll schedule. We have it in draft form. I received it from Mr. Henshaw. The CBC article.
Yeah, I guess we thought it was gonna be this.
Yeah, I understood it.
I wasn't sure. So when you said that,
That's fine.
sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, the board will
It was
vote
an
on it.
entertaining evening. Thank you for that.
We always love having you. Changes my whole idea of coming to board meetings.
Well, there's plenty of, committees too.
My sewer commission meeting's not this good.
Thanks, Tom.
So it'll be, the final warrant will be on the October, first board meeting in October, I believe.
Okay, we just, for some reason, I guess we misunderstood it.
When we talked, it was September 22.
That's when they close, citizen petitions.
Is that the same thing for the other one, the one we just did for ours too?
Yeah, they'll all be
They'll
on.
all be, okay.
I already have the draft, article, but it's in draft form until the board approves the warrant.
Thank you.
But it's on the draft warrant, so.
It's called.
Yeah.
We got missed in the spring, so I don't want to get missed again.
We won't,
Yeah, that just sets it back another year.
Mr. Henshaw.
we'll reach out.
Thank you.
We will make sure that you are not missed.
Thanks.
Chairman, can you make note of that?
Don't forget me.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a good evening.
You too, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Go for it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussions? Don't anticipate any. Motion made and duly seconded to adjourn. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
I vote yes as well.